Hi boys and girls, it's Miss Shannon. I tried to video on my walk this morning, but there was so much noise with the wind that it didn't turn out very good. So I'm trying one more time, and I wanted to say that I am learning your names, and I'm learning them in alphabetical order because that's easiest for me. So it's Audrey, Ellie, Evan, Joshua, Librado. Audrey, Evan, oh no, I messed up. Audrey, Ellie, Evan, Joshua, Librado. And I'm Miss Shannon. And we're going to start our lessons next week, but for this week we thought we'd just do a little introductory video and a little time to talk about nature, because we're going to be talking about God's creation and some really good stories from the Old Testament about creativity and hope and waiting and really good stuff for the next 13 weeks. So we're going to start that next week. But for this week, welcome. We're just going to have a little nature walk, a little song, and a little book. Hi, boys and girls. This is Miss Shannon, and I'm on my walk in the morning. And I see lots of buildings when I walk, but I also see things like these rocks. And they're all different shapes, but they're called river rocks because they're the kind of rocks that are found under rivers. And the water has shaped these to be smooth when they started out not smooth, but they're still all different shapes. See these small red ones? I can hold them in my hand, and it reminds me of red rocks that I've seen on vacation, like the Grand Canyon, which are huge, and these are small. Sometimes I think it's interesting that you have to get over or under or inside something to really see what it looks like. And I was thinking about riding in an airplane. Have you ever been on an airplane on the window seat and you can look down and you can see rivers the way that you could never see them from a car, for instance? Or have you ever ridden in a plane over the Grand Canyon and it looks small? And sometimes I like to lie underneath a tree. This is just a tree in my neighborhood. It's just a small one, but you can see all of the ways that the branches are growing, and you can see the way that it looks against the sky. And in the wintertime, you'll be able to see the branches better and the way that they grow all different ways. And I also like to look at all the wildflowers. I like the planted flowers too, but the wildflowers are really beautiful. And they didn't have anybody taking care of them at all. Sometimes they're vines, or white ones. I'm not sure what they're called. These little purple ones. Very delicate and lacy. And over here, we have, this is right by my house, my townhouse, we have these sunflowers. And the gardemen keep cutting them down, and they keep growing back up. I think they're so pretty. And I was thinking that we could take all of these rocks and we could make our own canyon. About 100 years ago, there was a Presbyterian minister named, Maltby Davenport Babcock. Pretty funny name, huh? But people had funny names in those days. And he loved nature, and he lived in the nature in upstate New York. And on some mornings he would go out and he would tell his family, I'm going out to visit my Father's world. And he would go stand on the mountaintop and look at all of the things, at the glories and the colors and the things of nature. And he wrote the words to a poem that later somebody put to music. And it's called This Is My Father's World. Let me show you. This is my old hymnal from when I was a little girl, and this was always one of my favorite songs because it talks about the things that I see when I walk. It says, "This is my Father's world, and to my listening ears all nature sings, and round me rings the music of the spheres. This is my Father's world, I rest me in the thought of rocks and trees, of skies and seas, his hands the wonders wrought." And it's talking about all the things in nature and that God made all of it. And that's what I think about when I walk. And I want to read you a story too that is kind of weird, but it makes you think about this in a backwards way. Now I'm inside my house, so it's quieter. This story is called The Tidy Lady, and it's by Anne Lindbergh and Susan Hogwit, I think. Anne Lindbergh is the daughter of the famous pilot who flew across the Atlantic. And it's got pictures of a cottage, and it's out in nature. Let me see if I can do this. When the tidy lady moved in next door, the place was wild and neglected. Ivy had grown over the walls of the house, and the paint was flaking from the doors and window frames. Out in the yard, the grass had not been cut all year. Leaves had fallen and been left to rot. No one had trimmed the bushes or picked the branches up after a storm. "This place is a mess," said the tidy lady. "It's a very good place to play," we said. This little boy and girl. "It's a mess," said the tidy lady, "and it will be a better place to play when I've cleaned it up a bit, but there's too much work to do all by myself." So Alex and I offered to help. The tidy lady picked up the branches and raked up all the leaves. Alex and I put them into bags and carried the bags out to the street. This isn't working very well, is it? Sorry, boys and girls. That looks good," I said. "Not good enough," said the tidy lady. "Such disorder I never saw in all my days. If people are fools enough to let their grass grow long, they should have the decency to braid it." Alex mowed the lawn, and the tidy lady and I put the cut grass into the bags and carried the bags out to the street. "That looks good," said Alex. "It still looks shabby," said the tidy lady. "Those bushes have grown much too plump. It's bad for their health. Your last neighbors must have been very careless people." The tidy lady fetched her pruning shears and began to trim the bushes. First she made them round, and then she made them square, and then she stood back inside. She said, "Altogether too untidy," and she cut each bush off at the stem. Alex and I were quite fond of those bushes, I told her. "They were good for hiding under." "You'll like them better now that they're gone," said the tidy lady. "Just wait and see." Alex and I helped stuff the bushes into the bags and carried the bags out to the street. "At least there's room to play still," said Alex. "There'll be more room by the time I'm through," said the tidy lady. "Let's start playing now," said Alex. I told the tidy lady that we would help again when the last of the leaves fell from the trees. "Why put off till tomorrow what you can do today?" said the tidy lady, and she brought a ladder to the yard and climbed up to the top. Alex and I held the bags open wide while she shook each branch off of the tree. The last of the autumn leaves fell down, and so did all the nests. "Where will the birds lay their eggs?" I asked. "Birds are a terrible, dreadful nuisance," said the tidy lady. "Surely you've noticed that they never stay in place." "Birds are not a dreadful nuisance, and we're rather fond of them." "Then let them litter your own yard," said the tidy lady, and she put all the nests into a bag and closed the bag with a double knot and carried it to the street. "I have to admit, the trees look neater now," said Alex. "Neater," said the tidy lady. "How can they look neater when their twigs are all a jumble? But never mind, I'll soon set them straight." She twisted and bent them this way and that until each twig pointed up the same way as the other twigs. "Still not good enough," the tidy lady said, and she straightened out the branches too. She looked at the trees in silence and seemed dissatisfied. "Won't that do?" I asked her. "No, it won't," she said. "The truth is, it will never last. If the wind blows, by morning, there will be a terrible tangle." So she cut off all the twigs and all the branches. Alex and I put them into bags, and we carried the bags out to the street. a little bear?" I asked. "Bear? Nonsense," said the tidy lady. "It's a colossal clutter. When I'm done, this will be the tidiest yard in the neighborhood." She took a saw and sliced up all the tree trunks like carrots for stew. Alex and I put the slices into bags and carried those bags out to the street. "That's better," said the tidy lady. "Not good enough, but better. Now at least the lawn is free. With all those trees in the way, how could we ever roll it up?" "Roll up the lawn," said Alex. "Roll up the lawn," said the tidy lady. We started at one end of the yard and we rolled the yard all the way over to the other end of the yard. It was hard work putting it into bags, and the bags were almost too heavy to carry to the street. "Now get a broom from home," said the tidy lady. "We need to sweep up all the earth, and many hands make light work." Alex and I borrowed our mother's broom, and the tidy lady used her own, and together we swept up the earth into piles. We shoveled the piles into garbage bags, and we carried the bags out to the street. The tidy lady looked pleased. "See," she said, "now you have a nice, clean place to play." Alex and I weren't pleased at all, but we tried not to be rude. "It's getting dark," we said. "Would you like us to put your tools away?" "You can put away the saw and the shears and the mower and the broom," said the tidy lady, "but leave the rake before we stop. Let's do something about those nasty things in the sky." "Those things are stars," I told her. "Alex and I are fond of stars." "Stars are like wildflowers," said the tidy lady. "If you don't get rid of them, they'll choke the moon." "We're fond of wildflowers too," said Alex. While Alex and I put the tools away, the tidy lady raked down the stars from the sky. We picked them up and put them into bags and carried the bags out to the street. "Do you need us any more?" I asked. "It's about time we went home." "I need you to hold the ladder for me," said the tidy lady. "I'm getting on in years and I wouldn't want to fall." Alex and I held the ladder while the tidy lady peeled a corner off of the sky. She tugged and strained and grunted and groaned until she had stripped the whole sky off a silky blue-black sheet, and she stuffed the sheet into a bag. "This bag isn't heavy. I can carry it to the street all by myself," she said. "Now there's just one last thing." "Please stop," said Alex. "Your yard is neat enough and we want to go home to bed." "Bed," said the tidy lady. "Does your mother really let you sleep in beds?" "Why not?" I asked. "Because of the disturbance," the tidy lady said. "When beds are slept in, they get all rumpled." "But that's what they're for," said Alex. "He's right," I said. "Beds are for sleeping in. Twigs are supposed to go all a jumble, and no one expects a bird to stay in place. Lawns belong flat on the ground, and the sky looked good the way it was. And if the stars were going to choke the moon, wouldn't they have done it long ago?" The tidy lady looked at us as if she were seeing us for the first time. "Come to think of it," she said, "children are untidy too." Alex and I ran home, but before we went to bed, we looked out the window to see what the tidy lady would do next. For a long time, she kept working by the light of the moon. We saw her strip the ivy from her walls and stuff it into bags. We saw her reach up and pull down the windows one by one and then the doors, and she stacked the doors and windows next to the trash bags out on the street. The tidy lady stood looking at her house for a long, long time. By the light of the moon, we could see that she was frowning. And at last she walked to the other side and shoved, and wherever the house stuck out or bulged, she shoved some more, and soon the house was neat and square and very small, and the tidy lady picked it up and tucked it under her arm. And then she walked away. The next day, Alex said that we should put everything back the way it had been. "But what about the house?" I asked. "Who knows?" said Alex. "Maybe the next people will bring their own." And then the last page is a tent with an elephant, a giraffe, and a monkey out in the wild earth. I think that's kind of a crazy story, and I like it because it really illustrates how people can go overboard, not that overboard, but a little overboard in trying to straighten up what God made perfectly, just like it is. And now I'm going to sing the second verse of my favorite song, "This Is My Father's World." This is my Father's world. The birds their carols raise. The morning light, the lily white, declare their Maker's praise. This is my Father's world. He shines in all that's fair. In the rustling grass I see him pass. He speaks to me everywhere. And he speaks to you too. I know. We just have to get out in nature and see what he made and listen, and God will speak to us.
Hi there. My name is Miss Gail, and I'm going to be working with Miss Shannon to do your Sunday school class this time. Really looking forward to talking to each and every one of you. I know that what we're talking about first is nature and how important it is in our lives. And now is a great time to get outside and look around. We just had a rain and everything's in bloom, and it's going to be cooler in the fall. And I just enjoy going around the park near my house and imagining what it was like a long time ago, before we had such things like video and television and all of those things that man has created, just looking at the things that God has given us. So hopefully this weekend you'll have some time, because we have an extra day off school, to get outside and look around and pretend that you're one of those people who lived a long time ago, back before before people, not God, created all of the inventions that we can do, the video and the games and all those kind of things, and get outside and play and do some make-believe.